He was not born into royalty. He was not destined for a crown. He came from the icy fjords of Norway, a raider, a wanderer, and a man shaped by war. Yet somehow, this Viking would one day sit on the throne of England itself. His name was Cnut, Cnut the Great, the Viking who became a king. Our story begins not in palaces, but on the restless sea. Around the year 1000, the north was alive with the roar of long ships. The sons of Denmark and Norway swept across Europe, striking terror wherever their dragon-headed ships appeared. Among them was a young prince, Cnut, the son of Sweyn Forkbeard, the fearsome Danish king who had his eyes fixed on England, the richest prize of all.
England at that time was a fractured land. Wealthy, yes, but weak, divided by squabbling nobles and ruled by a nervous king, Ethelred the Unready. When Sweyn invaded in 1013, the English resistance collapsed. Ethelred fled into exile, and Sweyn, the Viking conqueror, was crowned king. But fate is cruel. Sweyn died suddenly, just a few weeks later, leaving his son Cnut to inherit a crown that was not yet his. The English saw their chance. They rose up and expelled the young Dane, forcing him to flee back across the North Sea. Many thought that was the end of Cnut, but they underestimated him. 2 years later, he returned, not as a desperate prince, but as a warlord with a fleet of hundreds of ships. His vengeance was swift and merciless. The English coast burned. Town after town fell beneath the Viking axe. Yet amidst the chaos, Cnut showed more than savagery. He showed strategy. He didn't simply raid. He built alliances, rewarding loyalty, punishing betrayal, and weaving together a coalition that even the English could not break. By 1016, England's fate was sealed. King Edmund Ironside, Ethelred's son, faced Cnut in a series of brutal battles. The last came at Assunden, a blood-soaked hill where Viking steel shattered English resistance. And then the unthinkable happened. Instead of slaughtering his rival, Cnut offered peace. The two men divided England. Cnut took the north, Edmund kept the south. But fate intervened once again. Just weeks later, Edmund died, perhaps from wounds, perhaps from something more sinister. And so Cnut became the undisputed King of England, a Viking, now crowned in London. Yet the story doesn't end with conquest. What Cnut did next defied every expectation of a Norse warlord. He ruled not with chaos, but with order. He embraced Christianity, strengthened the church, and treated his English subjects not as conquered enemies, but as partners in his new realm. Under his rule, trade flourished, justice was reformed, and for the first time in generations, England knew peace. But Cnut's ambitions were greater still. Through a web of alliances and marriages, he united Denmark, Norway, and England under his command, a vast North Sea empire. From the icy fjords of Scandinavia to the bustling markets of London, his power stretched farther than any Viking before him. And yet, even kings cannot conquer time. One of the most famous tales of Cnut tells of a moment by the sea. Surrounded by flattery and praise, he ordered his throne to be placed on the shoreline. His courtiers watched as he commanded the tide to halt, to obey its king. Of course, the waves rolled on, washing over his feet. Cnut turned to his men and said, "Let all men know how empty and worthless is the power of kings.
For none is worthy of the name but he whom heaven, earth, and sea obey. It was not arrogance that defined him that day, but wisdom.
When Cnut died in 1035, the empire he built began to crumble, divided among his heirs and torn by rival claims. But for a brief moment in history, one man, a Viking warrior from the cold north, ruled a kingdom of peace and prosperity across 3 nations.
He began as a raider, he died as a ruler, and in between, he became something even greater, a bridge between 2 worlds. Cnut, the Viking who became a king.
Enjoying this journey through history? Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a 5-minute dive into the past. Got a historical mystery or epic story you want us to cover next? Drop it in the comments. Your idea could be our next episode on History in 5.